Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sivadas Madhavan, Associate Professor of English, Wolaita Sodo University, Ethiopia. I'm going to talk about the research proposal. This is a continuation of the last video. Here I'm going to talk about the different chapters of the research proposal. The first chapter is Introduction. Introduction is a general overview on the topic, and it includes the background of the study, the significance of the study, the objectives of the study, the research question or the problem or the hypothesis of the study, the scope of the study or delimitation of the study, the constraints or the limitations of the study, the organization of the study, the technical terms that you used in the research, etc. And towards the end of the first chapter, the reader will come to know the research gap or the knowledge gap that you are focusing on. The knowledge gap must be filled up by the investigation that you are going to conduct. So your research is an investigation to get something new to contribute to the existing body of knowledge. So what are you going to do will be clear by the end of that. Or the first chapter is an indication, that is a signpost which shows what you are going to do, or your research activities will be clear from the first chapter, and the technicalities you will explain in the second chapter, that is the review of literature. The review of literature is to show the relationship between your research and the other researchers in the field or in the same field or in the related topics. So what others talk about the topic, that is your concern. And it is because you want to know what others have done in the similar topics and where you are, where do you stand. That is your investigation. And in the review of literature, after reading a lot of materials, you will come to know where you are. It is just like joining a group of people who talk about a topic. When you join late, you have to wait and see what others are talking about, and then only you will decide your position or your stand. Otherwise it will be awkward. So review of literature is just like a person who joins the group who already started the discussion. So your discussion comes when you come to know what you have to say. And for that, you have to decide what you should say. Maybe different from others or maybe similar to others, etc. But you have to decide what it is. And for that, the review of literature will help you. And review of literature is done in three different ways: paraphrasing, summarizing, and making quotations. Paraphrasing means using the same ideas of the other writers but in your own words. You have to mention the source but. And summarizing is also using the ideas of others but in the short form. You reduce the size. In the paraphrase, you will not reduce the size but you use your own words and expressions. And in summary, you use your own words and expressions but you make it small. You make it very short explanation. And in making quotations, you are using the exact words and expressions or sentences of the writer or the scholar. And that is within quotation, and you have to specify the source, including the page number. So you have to paraphrase, summarize, or make quotations, but you have to explain them. These are all to substantiate your idea. So you depend on the other writers and scholars to help your idea, to get the support from them. So that is what you are going to do, and you have to organize yourself. When you say all these things, follow the documentation styles like MLA, APA, etc. So APA gives you a clear idea that your title must be short. It must be short, attractive, and on the topic. And the size must be less than 15 content words. It will be brief. It cannot be very long. If it is a long title, it will be very boring and it will look like a paragraph. So that is not right. So MLA stipulates the conditions about even writing a title. So you have to follow how to quote and how to paraphrase and how to enter the source. All these will be mentioned by the MLA or APA or such documentation citation styles. So you have to follow that. And there is no hard and fast rule, but you have to follow the common practice people do in writing the research. And you come to the conceptual framework or the theoretical framework at the end of your review of literature. Theoretical framework means you are using an existing theory to work on that. Or you can use your own conceptual framework. Conceptual framework is a flow chart using your variables of the research. Your variables will interact and it will have a certain result. So you will show the direction of your research activities in the conceptual framework, or it will be like a flow chart. And that will be at the end of the second chapter. But it doesn't mean that it must be always in the second chapter. Some people write the conceptual framework in the first chapter, some people put it in the third chapter, etc. So it depends. It depends on your interest and the type of the research. So that the researcher has to decide. It is his own discretion. And in social sciences, most of the time, the conceptual framework will be at the end of the second chapter, that is at the end of the review of literature. And you come to the methodology part in the third chapter. In methodology, you start with your design. What type of research you design, or what type of research you are going to do. Is it qualitative research, quantitative research, or mixed method, etc. So depending on the type of research, you have to select the research paradigm. Research paradigm is the world view, the pattern, the style that the researchers use. Researchers share common styles of doing the research. That is paradigm, like positivism, post-positivism, interpretivism, social constructivism, pragmatism, etc. So depending on the type of research, you have to select the paradigm, and then you will select the sample. You cannot sometimes study the whole population. For example, if your research is on the problems of the first year university students to study English, then it is not humanly possible to go to each and every student and try to get the data. So you select a sample. That means only a specimen you will select. Only a certain people will be selected based on certain criteria. Actually, sampling techniques are different, and that you can listen to some other time. And after selecting the sample, you have to show what data collection tools or what data collection instruments you use. For example, it can be interview, or focus group discussion, or observation, or it can be case study, etc. So there are different techniques, or even using questionnaire. So different tools can be used to collect the data. So you have to mention what you are going to do to collect data, what tools or what instruments you use. Then the procedure, data collection procedure, how do you collect it? And then the data analysis. So data collection instruments, data collection procedure, and data analysis. And when you analyze the data, you have to mention what scientific devices you use. For example, if it is quantitative research, there will be statistical calculations, and for that you can use SPSS or many other different software you can use. But most of the time people use SPSS for social science. SPSS means statistical package for social sciences. That is what people use most of the time. And even for mathematical calculations, you can use it. And if it is qualitative research, you can use programs like NVivo, Strata, etc. So it's your interest, it's your taste, and it's your convenience. But you have to mention that. And you come to the discussion. Discussion is not after the research you are going to conduct, but you expect certain results. So the expected results will be discussed in the discussion part. And then you come to ethics. the research ethics. You cannot offend anyone while doing the research. You have to keep the discipline. The participants or the respondents must be respected. You should keep the secrecy or the confidentiality of the data they gave you. And you have to see that they are properly paid. The remuneration for participating in your research must be done. So do not offend others, the participants, and keep the secrecy and follow the rules and regulations of conducting the research. And next you come to the budget. Budget is the expenditure for the research that you will break down and show in detail. And next is planning. Planning is the time frame. You are mentioning how much time you need for the data collection, for data analysis, for writing the research report, etc. So it will be a time frame. You cannot conduct the research for the whole life. So the time frame must be shown. And then come to the references. References will be the list of books or materials that you used. For example, newspapers, magazines, websites, etc. will be mentioned in the reference. And that will be the end of the research proposal. But it should not be more than 60 pages or more or less 60 pages. It should not be too long. If it is very long, people will not read it and it will be boring. And the committee of the professors who give the permission to continue the research will not be impressed. So take care of all these things, and that's all about the research proposal. With some other topic, I will come next time. Until then, goodbye.